104.5 The Team, your home for New York sports. Big wild card weekend. The Giants playing the Packers. So we head to the man who covers the Packers for ESPN.com, Rob Demovsky. Rob, we feel like this Packers, like they're the worst possible draw for the Giants. Is there any chance that you guys are looking at it like the Giants are the worst possible draw for the Packers?
Yeah, I think you're totally right on that because a couple of reasons. One, you look at the history. I mean, I know it probably won't play a huge part in the game, but look, Eli Manning, and this is hard to believe, has as many playoff wins at Lambeau Field as Aaron Rodgers does.
Wow.
Eli came in here and won in 2007 in the championship game, and in 2011 in the divisional round. He's 2-0 here. Rodgers is 2-2. But I think more specific to this game, you know, the Giants have the kind of defense, especially in the secondary, that could give the Packers trouble, you know, maybe more so than a lot of the matchups that they've had, just because, you know, Jordy Nelson said it this week. It's very rare, in his opinion, that a team has both good corners and good safeties. Usually, you know, if a team has good safeties, maybe their corners are a little weaker or vice versa. But he said this is a secondary that's good across the board. So I think it'll challenge the Packers in maybe ways that, you know, some of the other potential opponents that they could have had would have done.
You were touching on the Giants secondary there. Let's flip it over to the Packers secondary. We saw some guys injured last week.
Yeah.
What is the status of some of those players?
Well, you saw Quentin Rollins, the guy who was carted off on a stretcher. He's not going to play. They haven't officially ruled him out, but he hasn't done anything all week. Demarius Randall, their first-round pick from a year ago, didn't finish that game with a knee injury, but it looks like he'll be back. But if you look at the big picture, guys, when they started the season, their top three cornerbacks were Sam Shields, Demarius Randall, and Quentin Rollins. They're only going to have Rollins of those top three. And even he is not anywhere close to 100%. He's had a shoulder injury and now most recently the knee injury. You know, the interesting thing is that they really did a pretty good job on the Giants' receivers in that game here in Week 5. I mean, Beckham had, I think, 5 catches for 56 yards, but it really wasn't a big factor in the game. So I'm sure that will be one of the key matchups that decides this game.
Rob Demovsky with us right now on 104.5. The Team covers the Packers for ESPN.com. So, Rob, we every year it seems like Aaron Rodgers goes out and everybody's like, well, yeah, he's having an off year, and then he spells relax or says we can run the table. What is it about him that like it just seems like he's the only guy who can really beat him?
Well, I think a couple of things. Maybe they start slow because they're typically a pretty young team. As you guys know, they don't really sign many free agents. So, you know, it maybe takes a while to get in the groove. But, you know, there was a real disconnect early in the year with him. He wasn't playing well. I mean, that's, you know, of all their other problems with injuries and the lack of a running game, he was missing throws that he would normally make. And, you know, I think we'd all like to know what flipped the switch, you know, and I mean, it's definitely, you know, he said they could run the table fine, but there has to be a more football-centric answer to why he's all of a sudden in the last 6 games become, you know, playing like an MVP that he has before. And I mean, the numbers and the production in this 6-game winning streak are remarkable. 15 touchdowns, no interceptions. Him and Jordy Nelson have really connected big time. They're completing like 80-some% of their passes together, whereas the first 10 games that percentage was down in the 50s. It's just been, you know, it's been a lot of things, but I don't know that anybody has the explanation for why the switch flipped.
Rob, let me give you my potential reason that he has bad games. Can we blame Olivia Munn? I can't stand Olivia Munn.
I'm not going to go there. A little bit of a history there. So, yeah, that was a theory a year or so ago.
Is that like, you know, not obviously not speaking for yourself because I don't want to get you in trouble, but is that the scuttlebutt with some of the reporters that like she's a distraction?
I don't. I mean, I don't think that is off the field issues, and they've been written about a lot. I mean, you know, there's stuff that's come out about his family. His brother went on The Bachelor or Bachelorette, whatever that show was, and basically said the family hasn't talked to Rodgers in a long time. Look, this guy is. I think he is capable of, you know, blocking anything out and going out and performing. He's one of the best I've seen, and I've covered this team for 20 years, so I saw Favre and Rodgers up close. And Rodgers is a surgeon when he gets on a roll, and when he's precise. And again, I don't know if we can explain what was going on early in the year, but he certainly isn't playing that way now.
Rob Demovsky with us right now, covers the Pack for ESPN.com.
Levack and I have been talking this week about whether maybe if it's even a factor, is home field advantage overrated? Where do you stand on that, home field advantage and the weather being a factor in this game?
Inside.
Yeah,
right.
I stand inside where I am. It's like -1 right now in Green Bay. It's going to be like 10 or 15 on Sunday, which may not sound like a big difference, but trust me, living in this stuff, it's different when it's 15 versus -1. I remember, guys, I spent in 2007. Before the NFC Championship game here, which that game I think was -1. I think it was the second coldest game in Lambeau history. I was actually out in New York that week doing Giants stories. They sent me out there. I was working for the local paper here at the time, and I remember the Giants talking about, we're practicing outside and we're going to be ready for this. It was like 45 degrees that week in New York, and I'm hearing all the reports back in Green Bay thinking, the Giants have no idea what they're getting themselves into. There's no way they're going to be able to handle this cold and this conditions. And they came in here and won the game. And it was Brett Favre who looked like he had couldn't handle the cold weather. So I don't know how much can be made of that. I will tell you this: Lambeau Field is nowhere on any of the lists of loudest stadiums in the league. It just isn't. They have a great fan base and all that, but it's not that loud of a stadium. Certainly not like obviously an indoor stadium, but it's not. It doesn't even rank up there with one of the loudest outdoor stadiums like Seattle or Kansas City. So I'm not sure it's that. Other than the aura of this place, I'm not sure it's that difficult of a place for opposing teams to come in and play.
Well, it's a Football Friday here on Levack and Goz, so that means when you're a guest with us, you got to give us a prediction for the game. Tell us what happens and who wins this game.
Well, I really struggled with this one all week. Ultimately, I think the pick ran this morning on ESPN.com. I think I went with the Packers 23-20. Don't feel great about it. I would definitely not be surprised if it went the other way. Based on all the stuff we've talked about with the Giants' history here, the Packers' troubles in the secondary. But the one wild card here, and the one difference that if the Packers are going to win, I mean, Rodgers has just been on such a roll. He hasn't thrown an interception since I think it was Week 10 against Tennessee. It's a stretch of 245 straight attempts without an interception. That's the longest stretch of his career. If he continues that, doesn't turn it over, I think the Packers win the game. If the Giants can shut their receivers down and take the ball away, though, I could definitely see it going the other way.
Rob, you said you've covered the Pack for about 20 years?
Yeah, 1997 was my first season.
Have you ever done a Lambeau leap?
It's funny. They do these tours where they take people through the stadium, and then they actually walk people out the tunnel right where the players come out. And one of the things they tell everyone is don't touch the grass and don't jump up on there like a Lambeau leap. Not allowed. Reserved for players only.
Oh man, I feel like 20 years you get one though.
Yeah, maybe at 25.
Rob Demovsky absolutely nails when it comes to the Packers. We appreciate you, my man. Stay warm.
All right, my pleasure, guys. We'll see you.